Want to say thank you to our Patreon donors. Thanks this week go to The Sparrow King, Kara, Cormac, Caitlin, and Jenny. And also, I want to give an extra special thanks to Marta and Emily. They are such good people. They give you that feeling of thinking that you had an amazing dream when you were in middle school, but then much, much later on, you go to a library and you find out, no, that wasn't a crazy dream I had. It was a crazy book that I had that I forgot all about because I read it when I was 8, and you read the whole thing and it's still good. That's what they're like, people.
Ooh, exciting. You gotta reread them classics.
You don't know where to go in this patriarchal capitalist hellscape. Well, here's the sitch, we're gonna help you, sis, because bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. Bitches get riches. And so can you. Take my love, take my lamb, take me where I cannot stand.
Does that mean like a bar that you drink a lot and then you can't stand? I've always wondered. These are the pressing questions.
These really are the pressing questions.
Anyway, we have our own internet questions to answer. I think I should let everyone know that I'm Kitty.
And I'm Piggy.
And we are the bitches in Bitches Get Riches.
We are a pair of adorable, adoptable pound puppies at a municipal animal shelter.
When, and we think you have plenty of room in your budget to take us home with you.
Yeah, you sure do. And our time on this planet is limited.
So let's get started.
Today's letter comes to us from Tumblr follower Define Valid Characters.
It's a good name.
Which is a great name.
Yep.
It is a great name. They ask, hello, bitches. I currently have a full-time job that doesn't pay the best, but it's enough to support my lifestyle. I also volunteer around 20 hours a week, sometimes more. The volunteering is really rewarding, and I enjoy every second. But I'm wondering if that time would be better spent getting a second job or learning a new skill to improve my finances? ? I love this question. It speaks to me on a deep level.
I could have a one-word response to this.
Let's hear the one word.
No.
Yeah. No, that's the only answer.
They're wondering if that time, which, quote, is really rewarding that you enjoy every second of, would that time be better spent getting a second job? Fuck no. Fuck that.
Also, I feel a deep kinship with this question. It's because, I am one of those people who has so much nervous energy that, like, if I'm not monetizing my hobbies and making sure I'm productive and crossing things off that to-do list, I'm like, oh God, I'm wasting my life. Everything's terrible. But I recognize that that's a flaw in me. It's a bug, not a feature.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing here is this person isn't saying, like, I play video games for 20 hours a week. It's they volunteer. So it's not like they're even taking this extra 20 hours a week to themselves and just, doing something completely for their own pleasure and amusement. They're volunteering their time, which is giving back to others. And I'm annoyed at the implication that if you aren't earning money or advancing your career 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you're wasting time. Pleasure and pastime, they are inherently valuable, but volunteering is even more valuable because not only are you filling your own cup, but you're giving back to your community. That's worthwhile.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Like, it's great that it is volunteering, and presumably when you're volunteering, you're probably doing something that makes the world slightly less shitty, which is great. Good for you. But it doesn't fucking matter because what you're really describing is your hobby. It is meaningful to you and you enjoy every second of it. That's really all. I think in an ideal world, we would all sleep for 8 hours every day and have 16 hours of time to ourselves to do whatever the hell it is that we want. But I think given that we live in a capitalist society where we all have bills to pay and resources to gather and families to support and social obligations to meet, I think a more realistic breakdown is you get about 8 hours every day to sleep, you get about 8 hours every day to work, and you get about 8 hours every day for leisure. usually that leisure time is eaten up by things that should not, by any stretch of the imagination, be considered leisure activities, like showering and eating. Well, eating is nice.
Mowing the lawn.
Yeah, like oftentimes it ends up being like, here's where I'm going to fit in like post office, and here's where I'm going to like call my family member who I hate, but who guilt trips me if I don't call them.
Whoa. Are you reading my diary?
Do you remember? Okay, wait. I do think I want our listeners to know exactly about this, because when we lived together, you had a diary. And you were always gifted like 1 million notebooks. I assume this hasn't changed, because you're like, I like to write. So you get like 45
I am a writer.
notebooks.
Everyone's like, what do I get her for her birthday / Christmas / Flag Day? It's a fucking notebook. So yeah, no, I'm sitting next to a stack of like 5 of them.
So at some point you got a special diary that had like these long ribbons coming off it. And you like explained to me very thoughtfully, you were like, it's great because I tie it in this very particular way. And that way I can know if anyone has tampered with it. And I was like,
oh no.
I was like,
I remember
that's
this.
Nice. And then at some point, this is when we were still in a dorm room. So we had like the standard furniture where we both had a desk. And I was looking for blank CDs, because that's a thing that...
Because 2006.
And I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like going through your stuff and I kind of see like what I thought was like a cloth covered box. And I was like, maybe there's something in here. And I grab a string, and the second that my body sends the kinetic energy to pull the thing back, it's like, yo, dog, I'm pretty sure that's her diary and she's gonna fucking know. And I was like, oh no, shit. So I was like, shit, I just wanted to steal your office supplies. I didn't want to steal your soul secret. I really examined it like a surgeon, and I was like, no, this went back here, and then the rabbit went around the tree here, and I put that back, put everything back the way I found it. I'm not even going to bring it up, because no matter how you tell someone, hey, I accidentally opened your diary, like they stop listening and they're like, bitch read my diary.
What?
So I was like, no, I'm really good at this. I'm a graphic designer. I can look at a knot and then like tie that knot back in the same way. I'm good. I'm in the clear. And then you came back on Monday and you looked in your drawer and you were like,
who touched my fucking diary?
So did you open my diary?
Of course I fucking noticed. I thought you were so slick.
There's nothing worse than being caught doing something you shouldn't be doing, but that you genuinely did not mean to do.
Like a perfectly reasonable explanation for.
I'm like, no. I want to save up my lies for valuable times when I actually have misstepped.
All is forgiven. These are hashtag roommate woes. I just want to say, I still journal. I still keep a diary. But my husband, like, I forget what the context was, but like, I like jokingly was just like, yeah, and you'd read my diary. And he like took my hands and looked me dead in the eyes. And he was like, honey, I would never read your diary because I don't fucking care.
That's the thing, is that like, I think the idea of having a diary is so lovely, but if asked to summarize the minutia of my day-to-day thoughts and feelings, even in 2 sentences, I'm like, irrelevant. No one cares.
No one cares.
I can't get to that
Moving
point.
on.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Did we solve this person's woes?
Not quite yet. I want to throw back to like 1 million years ago when you brought up the word capitalism. For those of you playing the Bitches Get Riches drinking game at home, drink.
Can I do? Do I count?
When I say for those of you at home, I know you're at your home, so fucking drink. Capitalism was brought up in a fucking Bitches Get Riches podcast.
Never. I'm into club.
You're into club.
Everybody's like, hey, I also am in dark club.
No, but seriously, back to this very serious question on our very serious podcast.
Yes.
I kind of take offense at the idea that spending time volunteering is not a way of learning new skills and improving their finances.
Yes.
They kind of like put it up as this like thing that's useless to their career and future. And I disagree with that on a fundamental level.
I agree.
Because I feel like like you just wrote this amazing article. It was so great. I'm so glad you're my co-blogger. It was about how to frame volunteering on your resume. And you say many wise things in there, but I think that the takeaway in general is that, like, just because you're not being paid for your time doesn't mean that your time isn't being well spent and it isn't useful. I like off and on tutor creative writing at this middle school in my city. And it's fucking delightful and the students are hilarious and who's really teaching who. But this
got that Rona.
The point I'm trying to make is that the time I spent tutoring these kids on writing made me a better public speaker, a better presenter and instructor of information. And, you know, when you have to explain the finer points of writing to young people, it really forces you to kind of relearn it yourself. So as a professional editor and writer, like it was time well spent for me. But like also, you know, I got to get out of the house and do something, which, you know, it was good for my soul and my profession. So I fundamentally disagree with the idea that volunteering is not good for your career.
Yeah. And like speaking from a more Slytherin mindset, you meet a lot of people, you network with a lot of people when you do volunteering work. And I've often had the experience of having, you know, an okay phone screening with someone, and I can tell that they're reading through my resume, and then they get to the bottom where I mentioned some volunteering stuff, and they're like, oh my gosh, you work with dogs? I love dogs. I love you now. And I'm like, hell to the yes. Like, it tells people about what your values are. It's a great way to kind of instantly say, like, here's what I'm into, here's what I do. And I think you have to do things that are energizing and interesting in order to bring your best self to work anyway. In terms of like, all right, if you're spending 20 hours a week volunteering and you kind of just have a vague feeling of like, oh, people on the internet seem to indicate that the best way I should be spending my time is in starting some kind of ridiculous side business or hustle or taking on a second job. Blech. First of all, I hate it. But
which and disclaimer, like we have both, like this blog / podcast is our side hustle. Like we do things on the side that make money. But I think what you're blehing over is...
Whoa. How dare you say PGR makes money? If we paid ourselves by the hour, we'd be scraping that $3 ceiling on a good month.
That is very fair to say. But what I mean to say is you're blehing at the idea that you have to have a side hustle in order to be a productive, career-driven person. And that's just not the case.
There's that. There's the whole, like, don't let people pressure you into being part of this, like, productivity culture, which we loathe and do not endorse. But also, like, okay, if you want to work on progressing your career, maybe once every 2 weeks, take 5 of those 20 hours and say, I'll sit through a class while I'm cutting vegetables for dinner or whatever. I mean, certainly this has been true of Bitches Get Riches. This was certainly true of my freelancing career early on after I had first graduated, that you need to put a tremendous number of hours into most like big air scare quotes side hustles to make them profitable.
Oh, totally.
There are very few things that like live up to the internet hype of like, I make $60 an hour while wearing pajamas and never leaving my house. Like usually that's MLMs, or that's someone like trying to sell you courses on how to sell courses, which is its own kind of pyramid scheme. Like 20 hours is not a tremendous amount of time to invest in making money. I think it would make a lot more sense if you do need more money, focus on growing your salary and not in developing a side hustle,
yeah.
which just takes so
Well, and
much.
especially not a 20-hour-a-week on top of a 40-hour-a-week job. Like that's, and I say this as somebody who, before I got laid off, did typically work 60 hours a week plus. And I enjoy every fucking minute of it. But your time on this earth is limited. And if you are going to use those hours, like just be intentional about it and don't let anybody else tell you how to use those hours. Again, like I can't think of a single volunteer experience that wouldn't positively impact your career, whether it's by networking, by making yourself known as a responsible person in your community, by learning new skills, by practicing other skills, by just, making yourself feel good through altruism, which can do wonders for your mental health. Like there's really no downside to volunteering. And if it sounds like it's making this person very happy, why would they want to give that up for a quote unquote side hustle?
Yeah. All right. Are you good with that?
I am good with that.
Okay. Listeners, if there's a question you'd like for us to answer, go to bitchesgetriches.com and click Ask the Bitches.
That's us. There's only one way to guarantee that we'll answer your question, and that's to become a Patreon donor.
If you like what we do, you have fine taste on which I must compliment you.
Chef's kiss.
If you want us to keep going, you gotta become a Patreon donor and support us with whatever donation amount you are comfortable with.
We also have a merch store where you can buy t-shirts and printable worksheets and more.
Finally, there are some free things you can do to say thanks. Please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, whatever you use. It bumps us up on the charts and makes us easier for other people to find. You can follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Pinterest. And subscribe to our articles so you never miss a new one. And you can do all of that at bitchesgetriches.com.
So is there anything else they should know?
Yeah, our Patreon donor, Stacy, said that you and I are her generation's Susie Orman.
Ah, shut the front door. Good to know.
Susie Orman out!
Susie out.
BRB gonna go live on my private island.
Yeah, exactly.